Hey guys, and welcome to the Robocraft tutorial guide. This series is going to address the simple stuff like damage and how weapons work and stuff. So if you like these kind of videos, subscribe because there's more coming your way, and you will know that these are tutorial videos because their video thumbnail will be blue. So without further ado, let's begin. So in this video, I'm basically going to explain why your robot got one-shotted or completely crippled on the first shot. Of course, we've all been very frustrated every time this happens, and you tried to build around it, but you don't know what causes it. So I'm glad you're watching this video because I will explain how that works. So when you first boot up Robocraft, what? So when you first boot up Robocraft, the first thing you have access to is an SMG and a plasma. Anyway, so weapons, because weapons and guns are fun. So in Robocraft, you have access to up to 7 different types of weapons, all do separate and different things. However, the first weapon you receive is the Mark 1 SMG and the Mark 1 plasma. That's it. These two do very, very different things, and I'll explain how the damage works later. But just for now, just know that the damage happens when it hits. Duh. Each of these weapons have their own traits, which allow them to do different things. Weapons also perform better with more of the same type of weapon attached to your robot. However, they are also limited if you put too many, resulting in diminishing returns. This can be seen in the weapon stats if you hover over the weapon. Information about the weapon is displayed when you hover over them in the shop in the garage. Like this. Hover over them so you can read the stats. The numbers pretty much tell you everything you might need to know about the weapon. But what do they mean? Even though there are plenty of numbers, they don't really tell you the full story. So let's break it down and understand what the numbers actually mean. Even though the weapons have gone through many revisions lately, they're still pretty much the same as before the changes. So by looking at the numbers, you can understand the true nature of the guns. SMG is a gun that uses very little energy, low damaging, but fires quickly. Plasma is a gun that uses a lot of energy, medium damaging, and fires relatively slowly unless you have many. A railgun is a gun that uses a lot of energy, high damage concentration, and fires really slowly. Flak uses little energy, medium damaging, fires relatively quickly, and missiles uses a lot of energy, high damage, extremely low firing, with the lock-on time and particle travel time.
Still gonna mess you up.
The way the weapon functions is vital to the type of damage they inflict, which I will explain shortly.
But wait, said the old Robocrafter, referring to himself in the third person. Just what do you mean by energy?
The energy system was added recently by the fully loaded update released by FreeJam. Never before have we been able to do so much and so little at the same time.
By the way, I will be making a video later on this subject, but that's not important. Okay, so welcome back from your first battle. You may have realized that some of your robot withstood damage better than the other parts of the robot. This is because damage of the weapons are done differently per weapon. Okay, so the reason behind this is that damage in Robocraft is calculated by the hit registry in different types. The first one is impact, so the initial damage where the weapon hits a block on your robot and HP is subtracted due to the damage. And then damage spread, where if the said block is still, like if it's already been shot and it's like half dead and then they still got extra damage left, it's going to spread to the nearby blocks. That is the damage spread. To make this analogous to real life, imagine it as different types of energy transferred when something is struck or shocked. Using this analogy, we can now understand why our bots get shot down or crippled easily. Okay, outside right now there's a lightning storm, and I haven't seen a lightning storm in a long time. For example, plasma would hit like a hammer because it has 2 phases of damage when it impacts. When a plasma bullet is initially struck, it does impact damage. The block that was hit will take damage. 2. After the initial impact damage, the round explodes, creating a secondary AoE or area type effect of damage. This releases extra damage to the nearby block. The secondary effect of plasma cannons is what people often forget. The second reason is also why electroplates aren't as effective against plasma as they should be.
Damn.
More on that in a later video. The secondary AoE damage is also what creates great scrutiny against plasma cannons in the Robocraft community. Now, if you've been one-shotted or completely crippled by plasma, you should look at your robot again. Look at your robot and consider its shape. How will damage propagate within this robot? I have no idea. Remember that plasma hits like a hammer. Would a wafer-thin cracker be the best choice for a robot type? Now let's move on to SMG. This weapon's much more basic, as it applies direct damage to a block that it lands on, and that's it.
Guys, like, the rain's really coming down from that thunderstorm. I can hear it. It's just outside.
SMG's damage is different from plasma because it lands direct hits. However, it's very strong at conducting damage to the robot, kind of like lightning. So it's like a big lightning gun that shoots really fast. Moving on to railguns. Railguns hit like a nail, or a bullet. Damage hits like a cone at the point of impact. Damage models for missiles and flak are currently unknown on how exactly they apply damage. However, the damage is comparable to the AoE damage stage of a plasma round. They apply damage to a large radius of a sphere. However, flak is a bit more forgiving compared to missiles, which are much less so. So as you can see, different weapons deal different types of damage to the same armor. However, you can counter this by building different types of armor to resist the different damage models. But there's no such thing as perfect armor, so you're gonna have to make some trade-offs somewhere. However, there's still a third variable that you have to consider when accounting for damage: player tendency. With SMGs, players tend to drill through the robot by shooting at one spot and attempting to cut it in half. They also tend to shoot off weapons, rendering the robot useless. With plasma cannons, players tend to aim for large flat areas, like on top of tracks, or in between tracks, or tanks in general. They also tend to aim for weapon force, so for example, if a whole bunch of SMGs are grouped in one spot, landing a shot in there would deal a lot of damage to the enemy. They also land shots in high surface area places, like in the middle of helicopters and on a rotor. So how in the world are you supposed to defend yourself against these weapons? They seem almost too good. No matter what design you do, you just get blown apart. Hold on there. There is a way around it, and it's with a certain arrangement of chassis blocks. So there are many arrangements of chassis blocks, such as the triforcing and spaced armoring and triforcing. Okay, it's pretty much only been called triforcing, so we're just gonna go with that. In the next video, I will talk about triforcing. See you there.
I didn't completely understand, and it obviously ended in frustration. However, I took the challenge, tried my best, and here are the results. This is how you build a flyer without wings. Hey guys, Waffle here, and I'm here with a drone video for you guys because they are my favorite types of flyers. Now, before you hit the dislike button, before you start typing angry comments and oh my god, drones are the devil, before you do anything like that, please hear me out because drones are actually pretty cool and I suggest you build one as soon as possible. So, let's begin.